The hour of convening having arrived, all members will come to the floor of the House and take their seats. All members. Clerk will ring the bell. All members, please take their seats. All members, we're about to have the morning roll call. We will now have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We will have scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, and after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 148th House District, Representative Buddy Hardin. Representative Hardin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it is my privilege this morning to introduce a good friend and a fine minister and a public servant in other areas of our state for over 54 years. Phil Streetman is the owner and operator of WSST, which is Channel 51 down our way, and he covers from Valdosta all the way up to Warner Robins and about 50 miles on each side of Crisp County. Does a great job, always has. His programming is very good for the folks in that area. And Phil lets me get on the TV occasionally and tell him what's going on in Atlanta. And, you know, that is very important. And that's why I say he's a public servant. His programming is, he wants his people in his viewing area to know what's going on. But that's not why he's here this morning as a public broadcaster. Phil is here this morning because he also is a minister. He has a church, Lake Blackshear Baptist Church, in our area, and Phil has done a tremendous job with the church as he has with his broadcasting. He recently, his little church, and it's a rural church, but they just built a new sanctuary and a 300-seat sanctuary, and almost have it paid for, he told me, within just a couple of years' time. So he does a good job with his church. They have instituted youth programs and do a really good job for that rural community. Tell you another thing I like about Phil, he is such a good friend because when they're having an eating meeting, he always invites me. and I tell you what, that bunch down there can cook good. So if you ever get a chance to visit Phil's church on one of those days, be sure and go by. But let me first introduce a couple of real special people that are here with us today. And that's his wife, Elizabeth, and his daughter, Lisa. Would y'all stand and be recognized, please? And y'all be very much in prayer for Elizabeth. Sunday is the 51st anniversary of Phil and Elizabeth's wedding. So they've been married 51 years, and she's had a lot to put up with for a long time. But and his daughter, he has another daughter, Amy Cagle, who lives in Rome and does solos in church and works at SunTrust Bank. And he's got a son, Philip, who is a choral music director in Columbia County and recently performed at Carnegie Hall. So for a gentleman from Ideal, Georgia, he has made an impact in his time, and his children are certainly making an impact in their time. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Phil Streetman.
Good. Thank you very much. Well, I thank you, Mr. Buddy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, and special guests, staff members. Thank you so much for allowing me to come. It's an honor and a privilege. A little nervous, to be honest. I don't usually have this big a congregation. So thank you for being here, for a country preacher from Court Hill, Georgia, to be allowed to stand before you. It's indeed an honor. I want to share a verse of Scripture with you from the Old Testament, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Phil's take on that. God speaks to Jeremiah, and he said, "Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you, and I had my plans and purposes for you." I am not a believer in luck or circumstances or serendipity, but I am a great believer in God's providence. And I think that's why you, ladies and gentlemen, are here today, because of God's providence in your life. In the Old Testament, in the book of Esther, there's a very evil man named Haman who is plotting to destroy Esther's people, completely annihilate them. And her cousin Mordecai, who has taken her and reared her, goes to Esther and tells her, says, "You can't sit this one out. You're a queen now." And it wasn't just luck or circumstance or blind chance that put you in this position. You'll have campaigns that are coming up this spring and summer, the primary and the general election. You'll be out shaking hands and kissing the proverbial babies, and it's hard work and it's sweaty work. And when you shake hands with someone and say, "Yeah, I like you, I'm going to vote for you," you don't know if they're telling you the truth or not. You've been there, done that, haven't you? Mm-hmm. But I want to tell you that you are here because of God's providence. I believe that God has a purpose and a plan for every life. Mordecai told Esther, "Who knows that you have been brought to the kingdom for just such a moment as this?" And I believe that God puts the right person in the right place at the right time to accomplish His purposes. In ancient Greece, in the Greek city-states, they would call out from among them representatives to go to the central government. They called them the ecclesia, the called out ones. And back home, we who are your neighbors and your friends and your fellow church people, and we play golf with you and we eat with you, we have called you out from among us. You are our ecclesia. That God, I believe, has brought you to the kingdom for such a time as this. In an interview this past week, the speaker assured me, no new taxes. I want to get that on record. And God has used all of the experiences that you've had in life, and not all of them have been fun and games. There's some of you hurting this morning emotionally and spiritually because of things that have occurred in your life, but God uses all of those events and experiences to shape you and to prepare you for this very moment. And back home, your neighbors, your friends. We're watching you. We're depending on you. We're relying on you. We are praying for you. Our neighbors, our friends, our ecclesia, our called out ones, truly represent us. I believe in God's providence that you have been brought to the kingdom for such a time as this. Will you pray with me? Father God, we thank you that we live in a country and a state where we're free to go to the polls and elect those who represent us, to call them out from among us. I pray for these men and women who serve us here, that you would bless them, that you would protect them, watch over their families while they're away from them. And Father, that you would give them wisdom and discernment for all of the decisions that they must make. We ask for it, we pray for it now, in the strong name of Jesus and for his sake. Amen and amen. And I've been allowed one other special honor and privilege, and that is to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag of the United States of America. I invite you to join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you. Thank you.
Doorkeepers will please unlock the doors. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Committee on Information and Audits, Chairman Chokas.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits had reviewed the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokas, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146 moves that the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents: introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading in reference to the House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and House resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 696 by Representative Jones, the 53rd. Bill to amend Article 2, Chapter 4, Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to arrest by law enforcement officers generally.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 697 by Representative Evans of the 42nd, amending Code Section 20-3-519.5 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to eligibility requirements for HOPE grants.
Appropriations.
House Bill 700 by Representative Waits of the 60th to amend Chapter 3 of Title 30 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to access to and use of public facilities by persons with disabilities.
State properties.
House Bill 702 by Representative Morris, the 156th, to amend Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to provide for placement of a monument depicting the Ten Commandments.
State properties.
House Bill 706 by Representative Brooks of the 55th to amend Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to provide for placement of a statue of the Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr.
State properties.
House Bill 707 by Representative Spencer of the 180th to amend Chapter 1 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the state or any political subdivision from engaging in any activity that aids in the enforcement of the Federal Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010.
Judiciary.
House Bill 709 by Representative Green in the 151st, providing that future elections for the office of coroner of Terrell County should be nonpartisan elections.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 710 by Representative Green in the 151st to provide that future elections for the office of coroner of Randolph County shall be nonpartisan elections.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 711 by Representative Green in the 151st to provide that future elections for the office of coroner of Clay County shall be nonpartisan elections.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 712 by Representative Turner of the 21st to amend Chapter 1 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to prohibit any agency of this state, any political subdivision of this state, and any employee from assisting an agency of the armed forces of the United States in the investigation, prosecution, or detainment of any citizen of the United States.
Judiciary.
House Bill 713 by Representative Battles of the 15th to amend Article 1, Chapter 2 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated to provide for the collection and distribution of certain data.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 714 by Representative Hamilton of the 24th relating to the benefits relative to employment security so as to provide change to the determination of eligibility for unemployment benefits of certain persons performing certain services.
Industry and Labor.
House Bill 715 by Representative Hamilton of the 24th to amend Part 1 of Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Jekyll Island State Park Authority so as to revise the powers and the responsibility of the authority.
Natural Resources.
House Bill 716 by Representative Holt of the 112th to amend Article 3, Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to prohibit the publication of certain information relating to minors under certain circumstances.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 717 by Representative Holt of the 112th to amend Article 4A of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to provide for a system of determining parental investment in public schools.
Education.
House Bill 718 by Representative Turner of the 21st to amend Article 7, Chapter 2 of Title 26 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to milk and milk products so as to allow the sale of raw milk to consumers.
Agriculture and Consumer Affairs.
House Bill 719 by Representative Tanner of the 9th to amend Article 2, Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Joint County and Municipal Sales and Use Tax so as to provide for the continuation of the tax.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 720 by Representative Lumsden of the 12th to amend Title 15, Article 1 of Chapter 13 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to provide for the collection of a fee to defray the costs associated with using electronic citations.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 721 by Representative Rice, the 95th to amend Article 1 of Chapter 34, Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Composite Medical Board so as to provide for the release by the board of certain correspondence and documents.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 722 by Representative Sims, the 169th to amend Code Section 20-2-51 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the election of local board of education members, persons ineligible to be members or superintendent, ineligibility for local boards of education.
Education.
House Bill 723 by Representative Sims, the 169th to amend Code Section 20-2-51 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the election of local board of education members, persons eligible to be members or superintendent, ineligibility for local boards of education.
Education.
House Bill 724 by Representative Sims, the 169th to amend Article 1, Chapter 12 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the general provisions regarding offenses against public health and morals so as to prohibit persons from being spectators in any place where chicken fights occur.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 725 by Representative Sims, the 169th to amend Chapter 1, Title 15, Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding courts.
Judiciary.
House Bill 726 by Representative Simpson, the 169th to amend Code Section 20-8-1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the definition related to CAPA's police officers.
Higher education.
House Bill 727 by Representative Sims, the 169th to amend Part 2 of Article 4 of Chapter 6 of Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to bonds to keep the peace.
Higher education.
House Bill 729 by Representative Sims, the 169th, entitled An Act to Repeal an Act concerning the Pension Board of the Board of Education in such counties that we recompute the pension paid to those teachers and employees.
The chair is in error on House Bill 727 is assigned to the Judiciary Committee. House Bill 728, Education.
House Bill 729 by Representative Rice, the 95th, to amend Code Section 48-5C-1 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to definitions, exemption from taxation, allocation and disbursement of proceeds collected by tag agents.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 730 by Representative Bates, the 144th, to amend Code Section 40-2-86 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to special license plates promoting certain beneficial projects and supporting certain worthy agencies.
Motor Vehicles.
House Resolution 1044 by Representatives Tankersley of the 160th, dedicating McDougal Memorial Parkway.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1045 by Representative Spencer, the 180th, urging the Attorney General of Georgia to initiate or join a lawsuit to overturn the decision of the United States Supreme Court to uphold the constitutionality of the individual mandate of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act of 2010.
Judiciary.
House Resolution 1052 by Representative Brooks of the 55th, a resolution encouraging the State Arts Standards Commission to authorize the erection of a statue dedicated to the Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr.
State Properties.
That completes first readings.
Resolution 1042 by Representative Ralston of the 7th. A resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other Justice of the Supreme Court and each Judge of the Court of Appeal to be present at the joint session and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Is there objection? Without objection, the resolution will be adopted. Secretary will read.
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Ethics Committee, Chairman Wilkinson, to introduce the Doctor of the Day. Chairman Wilkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, fellow members of the House. It's a very great pleasure for me to bring to you our Doctor of the Day, my friend and my neighbor, Dr. William Silver. He's president of the Medical Association of Georgia, MAG. He was sworn into office as MAG's president during the organization's 159th House of Delegates meeting at Lake Lanier on October 19, 2013. The facial plastic surgeon cares for his patients at the premier image, cosmetic, and laser surgery practice he founded in Atlanta in 1970. Dr. Silver is a clinical professor of surgery at the Emory University School of Medicine, and he has more than 30 years in otolaryngology and facial plastic surgery. He served as director of head and neck surgery for the U.S. Army. He received his medical degree from the Medical College of Georgia, and he conducted his residency at Mount Sinai and Bellevue Hospitals in New York. Now, Dr. Silver is known to his friends as Billy. And one thing we don't have in the bio that he's very proud of, he and his Grady High School teammates from 1953 just celebrated the 60th anniversary of their state football championship. They beat Lanier, who was from Macon, much favored. Now, Billy, before you speak, I want you to know that this House wants to recognize your election, and we want to let you know just how much we appreciate your service as a physician. So if you'll accept this resolution.
Representative Wilkinson, I thank you, and to Mr. Speaker, Mr. Ralston, who's a neighbor of mine in Blue Ridge, I just want you to know it's a privilege and an honor to be here to serve you who serve us. That is the greatest privilege any physician could have, so I really owe this thanks to you. I'm a native here in Atlanta, and ironically speaking, about 2 blocks down the way, my grandfather's house is right where home plate is, and so this is really my old neighborhood. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for all the great work you do, and that's all I can say is thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Listen, it's good to see you.
Good to have you with us.
I'm always concerned about you and your politics there. You know that. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
No further questions. Any other senator wishing? Is there objection to adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted.
This House will come to order. House will be at order. I'm going to ask members to take their seats immediately. All members, please find your seats. Before I ask the clerk to read a resolution, I'm going to ask, we have Representative Ballinger. I'd ask that the other members of the Cherokee County delegation, Representatives Carson, Representative Caldwell, and Representative Turner, please join us at the foot of the podium. Clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 1050 by Representatives Ralston of the 7th, Tankersley the 160th, Ballinger the 23rd, Jones of the 47th, and Caldwell of the 20th, and others. Whereas news of the passing of Representative Calvin Hill is received with deep regret by this body, and whereas the life led by this distinguished gentleman rendered him dear to the hearts of his family, friends, colleagues, and fellow citizens alike. And whereas Representative Hill was first elected as a member of the Georgia House of Representatives in 2002. Prior to his legislative service, he had been a mayor of Ball Ground, Georgia for 2 terms in the early 1990s. His civil service did not stop there. He had been a member of the Cherokee County Chamber of Commerce since 1987, chairman of the United Way, president of the Canton Rotary Club, director for the March of Dimes, chairman of the Cherokee Outdoor YMCA, and served on the board of most nonprofits in Cherokee County and on the board of trustees of Reinhardt University. And whereas in addition to his international business experience, Representative Hill was chosen as the attaché for the Republic of Georgia Olympic team and president of the Georgia National Olympic team for the 1996 Games. He also led trade missions of business leaders to the Republic of Georgia and Indonesia throughout the 1990s. And whereas aside from being a state legislator, Representative Hill was an entrepreneur and started several business and international businesses. Born in Sierra Nevada Ordnance Depot in California, Representative Hill later moved to Arizona, where he attended college at the Arizona State University and the University of Arizona, majoring in business. He obtained special training in engineering and demolition while in the United States Marine Corps. And whereas Representative Hill served as chairman of the House Code Revision Committee and as a member of the Appropriations and Banking, Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight, Special Rules, and State Properties Committees. And whereas Representative Hill was married to his wife Cheryl, with whom he had 5 sons, a daughter, 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. And whereas while in life he commanded the esteem of his fellow Georgians, in his death we mingle our sympathies with the grief of his family, friends, and fellow citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the member of this body honor the life and memory of the late Representative Calvin Hill and express their deepest regret at his passing.
We never know when we leave here at the end of a session that we'll ever be together like that again. And we lost 2 of our finest this past year. I was honored to come into this house with both of them, Calvin Hill and Quincy Murphy, both having been elected in 2002. And this house was made better because of their service. I was honored to know Calvin Hill for probably about 25 years or more. When I came to this Capitol back in the early 90s, he was a constituent of mine. He was serving then as the mayor of Ball Ground. I knew from that first time I met him and got to work with him that he was a special leader. Calvin Hill served with dignity and with zeal. I don't know that I've ever known anyone in public life who was more principled than Calvin. He knew with absolute conviction what he believed, and his work was centered around and driven by those values that he held so close. And he had an unrelenting drive to serve the people of Cherokee County who sent him to this Capitol for all of those years. We're going to miss Calvin. He was a dear friend to everyone in this chamber, and he was a special and dear friend of mine. And so today I'm pleased that you will join with me in paying tribute to Chairman Calvin Hill. We are honored to have with us today the members of the Hill family, including Cheryl, whom we love so much and who was with Calvin very often in his service. We have the members of the Cherokee County delegation here, and on behalf of the delegation, I've asked Representative Ballinger to give some remarks. Representative Mandy Ballinger.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th.
It's very difficult to articulate what Calvin meant to us as a delegation. As many of you are aware, a lot of us were newbies last year, and we came to depend on Calvin. Calvin was our bedrock. Calvin was our foundation. Calvin was our steadying hand. He had the voice of experience to guide and to lead us as our delegation chair. He was sorely, sorely missed. We had a delegation meeting in December, and he was sorely, sorely missed. Calvin was also known throughout the community as a leader. I actually took over whenever the new district was created, took over a lot of Calvin's old district, and nobody would say anything unkind about Calvin. They all spoke of his courage, his dedication to the community, and also his wonderful, wonderful family. I think by your family you will be known, by your friends you'll be known, and by your family. And Calvin comes from an extraordinary family, and our hearts break for them and their loss. Thank you.
Up at the podium we have Ken and Amanda Locke, Matt Jobe, Stacy Johnson, a former member of this body, former Representative Charlize Byrd, and her husband Mike, and of course Cheryl Hill. I hope you will join with me in expressing our love to this family and our appreciation for the friendship and service that we enjoyed for a lot of years with Calvin Hill.
It's my honor and privilege to recognize Dr. William Silver today. He's the President of Medical Association of Georgia, and we all know the great work that they do, as well as the coordination with the Doctor of the Day program for so many decades, actually. He was trained at the Medical College of Georgia. He conducted his residency, completed his residency at Mount Sinai and Bellevue Hospitals in New York City. He also is a teacher at Emory University. He's a professor of surgery there, and he works in the specialty of facial plastic surgery. And with that, I hope everyone doesn't have a reason to visit him today, but if we do, we've got one of the best of the best and one of the greatest physicians here in the state of Georgia. With that, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. William Silver and ask that you give him a warm Senate welcome. Thank you.
I just want to say I thank all of you for doing what you do for all of us. My job today is to repay, in some small way, all the work that you've done for the medical community, for all of our patients, and for all of our state. So I thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Cheryl Hill.
I just want to say on behalf of my whole family how touched we've been. The cards, the letters, the donations to Wounded Warrior Project. We've felt the love. I'm not a public speaker, but I'm going to miss all of you. I love being here with Calvin. He would be so, so humbled. Thank you.
House Bill 310 by Representative Wilkinson of the 52nd. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the OCGA relating to ethics in government so as to revise definitions, to provide for the method of filing certain disclosure reports, to provide for a method of notifying candidates of late fees due, and for other purposes. That concludes the order.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 694 by Representative Waits of the 60th, the bill relating to the Georgia Rail Passenger Authority Law. HB 695 by Representative Carson of the 46th, a bill relating to public assistance. HR 1036 by Representative Hinson of the 86th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Townships. HR 1037 by Representative Howard of the 124th, resolution requesting the Central Savannah River Regional Commission study the coordination of transportation delivery methods in the Central Savannah River area. HR 1038 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, resolution recognizing and encouraging the efforts of the Georgia Department of Education, Technical College System of Georgia, the University System of Georgia, the Governor's Office of Workforce Development, Department of Community Affairs, and the private sector to place Georgia at the forefront of the return of manufacturing to the United States. Through second readers.
House Bill 310, we're working from LC 286918. This legislation is a response to the federal district court injunction issued in the case of United States.
I'm going to ask the House to come back to order. Members, please take your seats if you can't be seated and please exit the chamber. All members, please find your way to your seats. Clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 1051 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, Jones of the 47th, Williams of the 168th, Howard of the 124th, Frazier of the 126th, and others. Whereas news of the passing of Representative William Quincy Murphy is received with deep regret by this body, and whereas the life led by this distinguished gentleman rendered him dear to the hearts of his family, friends, colleagues, and fellow citizens alike. And whereas Representative Murphy was born in Atlanta, Georgia, and reared in Edgefield County, South Carolina. He was a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in economics. He was a president and chief executive officer of Quincy Murphy and Associates, an affiliate of the Allstate Insurance Company, and had been in the insurance and financial services business in Augusta since 1979. And whereas Representative Murphy had a history of community and civil service, he was a chairman of the Augusta Richmond County Communities and Schools. He was a member of the Augusta National Associations of Life Underwriters, the Georgia Association of Black Elected Officials, the National Conference of State Legislators, State Treasurer of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, the Rotary Club of Augusta, the Augusta chapter of the American Red Cross, and the former chairman of the Augusta Richmond County Legislative Delegation. And whereas he was an executive secretary and training officer of the Augusta Association of Basketball Officials and a member of the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Basketball and Football Officials Association and the Optimist Club of Richmond County. He was a board member of the Augusta Richmond County Coliseum Authority, Care Management Consultants, CSRA Business League, Inc., CSRA Economic Opportunity Authority, Inc., and the United Way of Central Savannah River Area. And whereas on his first offer for public office in 2002, Representative Murphy was elected to the Georgia General Assembly as a state representative from House District 97. In 2004, he was unopposed for re-election to the reapportioned new House District 120. In the House of Representatives, he served on the Higher Education, Insurance, Transportation, and Appropriations Committees. Representative Murphy also chaired the Georgia House Democratic Caucus Higher Education Policy Committee. And whereas Representative Murphy was a member of Augusta's historic Tabernacle Baptist Church, where he was a deacon, trustee ministry chairman, and a church treasurer. He was married to the former Linda Diane Dunton, with whom he had 2 children, Jennifer Alicia and William Quincy III. And whereas while in life he commanded the esteem of his fellow Georgians, in his death we mingle our sympathies with the grief of his family, friends, and fellow citizens. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives that the member of this body honor the life and memory of the late Representative William Quincy Murphy and express their deepest regret at his passing.
The chair is going to ask the members of the Augusta-Richmond County delegation to join us at the foot of the podium. Chairman Barbara Sims, Representative Wayne Howard, Representative Ernest Smith, Representative Gloria Frazier, and Representative Brian Prince. And in addition to that delegation, the chair will also ask the following to join us up here. Representative Virgil Flood, the minority leader of this House, Leader Stacey Abrams, the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Hughley, Representative Tyrone Brooks, Representative Ben Harbin, Representative Al Williams, Representative Mac Jackson, and the Dean of the House, Representative Calvin Smyrie. I came to this house with Quincy Murphy, as I did with Calvin Hill, and came to love Quincy very much over the years. Quincy was a solid rock. He was quiet in his work, in word and demeanor. I once thought maybe that was just his nature, till I found out that he hung out with Al Williams, which explained he probably couldn't get a word in edgewise. But although he was quiet, he was powerful, and the fruit of his labor bore that out. I told a group the other day I'll miss the times when Quincy would visit me up here at the podium and very quietly, very succinctly, but very persuasively make his case for a piece of legislation or some issue in the budget. And he was always guided by what was best for the community that he served, because he really loved Augusta and Richmond County. And to him, service was an honor and a trust that I think he always regarded as something very, very special, as we should. The family has asked that we show a video, and at this time I'm going to ask that the video be displayed.
Well, Quincy Murphy was the first friend and relationship I developed in this town 25 years ago. He came by my office when I was just named the head basketball coach and athletic director at Augusta College within 2 days of my appointment, and introduced himself and took me to lunch in his 280Z. There was never a time that I didn't see Quincy. He met me with these words. He would say, "Clint Bryant, my friend, how's Trish and the girls doing?" And he would always say that. And so I'm losing a great friend, but I know one thing is that Quincy lived life the way it should have been lived, and he knew the Lord, and he's a very blessed individual. He'll be greatly missed in our community from a lot of different standpoints. Quincy Murphy was a man that whatever he told you on Monday, you know it was the same on Friday. He was like 6 o'clock, he was straight up and down, and he was indeed a great statesman, not only for our community, but for the state of Georgia and our nation in which we live.
He was a wonderful person. Obviously, he was a great community servant, but for me, with Clear Channel Media Entertainment, he was a great business partner. He was a great friend. That's probably what I miss most. I think that I can't remember an occasion when I called him and said, "I need your help," be it professional or personal, that he didn't, try to help me. And when he couldn't help me, he said, "Let's pray about it." So I really, it's a great loss.
I'm sure that all of you knew how much he loved clothes, because he was always as dapper as could be. But he would always tell me, he said, I'm going to quit coming when you're there, he said, because you make me spend too much money. And so he'd call every now and then, and I'd pick up the phone and answer, and he'd say, "Smitty," and I knew it was Quincy as soon as I heard his voice. And he said, "What days are you off?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I'm off on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday." He said, "I'm going to come over those days." He said, "I can save a lot of money that way."
But I was telling him this one situation that I was going through, and Quincy does, he listened, very attentively, and he said to me, he said, "Sharon, I'm gonna tell you something that I tell many people. All I need you to do is sit back, think about what you want to do, and forge on." And so whenever I would see him, I would do like this, because that was our thing, forge on, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
We just got to talking and found out we had a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same goals. He was interested in sports, I like sports, and we had some real good conversations along the way. But what I found out about him was that he was willing to reach out and make a friend when in those types of situations. Maybe most people don't do that, but he really made an effort to be a friend, and as a result of that, we communicated right regularly with each other. He would call me for advice, I'd call him for advice.
It is a substantial loss for me personally, and I can't help but in some ways look at this personally, but the loss for the community is monumental. And I think that we as a community have to come together and attempt to fill the void that would be Quincy Murphy.
We are honored to have with us today from the Murphy family, his wife Diane, daughter Jennifer Morgan, her husband Tavares Morgan, the son Quincy Murphy III, and a number of aunts, cousins, and other family members and friends. I hope you will join with me now in expressing a tribute to the service of our friend, Representative Quincy Murphy.
Basically for those Americans living abroad who would, in our case, be Georgia residents, not South Carolina residents or Oregon residents or these other states that have this, they have folks automatically given a second ballot because in this day and age, it's so easy to just have that runoff ballot printed on a computer. And you can just hit print screen, fill out your runoff ballot, mail it in, and you've cut the mail time in half of getting those ballots to and back from those overseas people, from our soldiers serving overseas, whether that's in Korea or Afghanistan or Germany or wherever. You cut that in that time in half.
It's my honor to introduce to you now Diane Murphy.
Good morning to the Speaker of the House, the members of the chamber. Just want to say that I know that my husband loved you all as much as I think you all loved him. And I know that I miss him, but I know that he's in a better place now. One thing I can say is that in his last days, he was always working for the people of Richmond County, for the people of Georgia. It brings me great joy to see you all and just to fellowship with you this morning. And I know that Quincy would want it that way, and he wants me to say thank you to you all for the job that you all will do for the people of the state of Georgia. And so I say to you, God bless America, and God bless God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
We're going to be at ease just for a moment. If you have signed up for a morning order, then I would ask that you make your way down to the front of the chamber.
The initial court order, I think, moved it to June
saying, begging us, just like they did with redistricting, come up with something, do your job as legislators, do your job as, and come up with something that will pass the Voting Rights Act. And the Secretary of State, to his credit, tried to do some things, but it wasn't enough to completely correct the system, and that's how we wound up with this May date. I don't know if that addresses your question, but in other words, we could still go back to the same court and say, here's a plan, we know it complies with the Voting Rights Act because the courts have approved it in 11 other states, or if we move the primary just into the fall, here's a system that 39 other states have that complies with the Voting Rights Act. Will you approve this? Certainly, if we're one of either 11 states that have already been allowed to do it or one of 39 states that do it that way, they're going to let us do it that way. No further questions. Thank you. I yield the well and ask you to vote no on House Bill 310.
The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection? Without objection, the committee substitute is adopted. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? Is the objection agreed for the committee which fail pass the bill? Chair is none for the committee is agreed to. Shall the main question be now put? Are there any objections? Chair is none. The main question is ordered. Shall this bill now pass? Question is on the passage of the bill. All of those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed no. Secretary will unlock the machine.
House will now come back to order. House will come back to order. We got some more business to take care of. I am informed by the clerk's office that we have a resolution to take up. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 733, notifying the Governor the General Assembly is convened and for other purposes.
Well, here we go. I thought we convened yesterday, and they're just now wanting us to notify the governor that we have convened. Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? Chair hears none, so we'll tell the governor that we convened today, I guess. All right, all the morning orders. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman of the Higher Education Committee, Chairman Rogers. And he's joined by Representative Donahue and Representative Hawkins and Representative Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it's our honor as a Hall County delegation to recognize youth leadership Hall County, and they're sitting in the gallery. If you people will stand up and let the House recognize you, please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for a morning order the Chairman of the Motor Vehicles Committee, Chairman Rice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is by way of an announcement and an offering. After hearing the memorials this morning, you can't be much in doubt that the Bible is right, that our days are numbered, and there's no guarantee of even the rest of the day or tomorrow. And one of the things we do to try and enhance our life down here is to get together on Wednesday mornings in something called the Legislative Fellowship. Meets at 7:15 on Wednesday mornings. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, or whoever else you got, the legislative body, senators, and representatives meet. We're going to start next week on Wednesday morning, and you'll be notified of that via email. The other thing I want to let you know is that the kickoff breakfast for the Legislative Fellowship will be the 30th of January. Ambassador Tony Anderson will be our guest, along with Governor Deal. And that'll be at the Commerce Club at 7:30 on the 30th of January. So mark that up on your calendars, and we'll be happy to see you. David Beasley, former governor of South Carolina, was there last year and did a great job, and we're looking forward to another one from Tony Anderson this year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Edward Lindsay. Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to share with you all a very personal point of personal privilege. 21 years ago today, Elizabeth and my life was forever and endlessly changed with joyous chaos. Charles Robert Lindsay was born at 7:52 on January 14th, 1993, with his lungs screaming. His life's two long passions are the outdoors, the great outdoors, and UGA sports. When he was 5 years old, I believe it was, he painted the back wooden fence blue with a smiley face, and hence earned the nickname Picasso. Everything since then, however, has had to be painted red and black, including his bedroom. His two passions have been joined now where he is at the University of Georgia, where he is probably the only one from urban Atlanta in the forestry department. He was joined 5 minutes later by his brother, Zachariah Weston Lindsay, who came out wide-eyed and trying to figure out what's going on. Zach's nickname in life has always been Zach Attack, which is well earned. His great passion is competition in all things. I watched Zach get knocked down at the starting line of a race one time and then proceed to win the race by over 100 yards. He is a fierce competitor who's working in my campaign, who makes sure that every night that I have worked as hard as he has. It is my and Elizabeth's great prayer that on this day and every day after this, that these two joys in our life will always remember that behind them is a family and friends who love them. Beside them is a God who will guide them. And before them are endless joys and wonders and probably a little bit of chaos and adventure before them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Transportation Committee, Chairman Roberts, and Representative Chuck Sims, and looks like others. Representative Shaw, Chairman Morris, Floor Leader Nimmer. Oh my goodness.
Don't forget Miss Penny.
I saved the best, well, Representative Spencer, and saving the best for last, Chairman Houston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we want to invite y'all down to the Railroad Depot from 5 to 8 for the Okefenokee occasion. Most of you have been down there before. We go down there, you get to eat some gator tail and everything else. Good old fried food that makes you feel good. So come on down there tonight and join us, and we look forward to having you down there as well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Yep.
Chair recognizes Representative Atwood for a morning order. Looks like he's going to be joined by Chairman Stevens. Are you in this, Mr. Chairman? Chairman Parrish? Representative Spencer? I'm seeing a pattern here. Representative Bryant? Representative Al Williams? Representative Chapman? Representative Wilkinson? Oh, you are a part of the Glenn County delegation. I forget that. So I'm going to guess this has something to do with the Georgia coast.
It does.
Representative Atwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I've come to the podium on a bipartisan issue here, along with the members of the 1st Congressional District delegation, to ask for your support of a resolution that I'm going to lay up here. I was asked you to co-sponsor it if you're so moved. Back in 2012, the Biggert Waters Flood Insurance Act was passed by Congress. It has hit our collective districts with a vengeance. It asked FEMA to do certain things for the flood insurance programs, but due to FEMA's poor implementation so far and to fail to do an affordability study and accurate mapping, incomplete data, it's led to some unreasonable increases in flood insurance. We're asking Congress to revisit this, to amend it or repeal it so that it will not cause the devastating effect on our homeowners, our banking industry, our real estate industry, our rental industry, and many associated businesses along the coast, but it also is going to impact each and every district that you represent when they do these mappings. So we would ask for you to co-sponsor it if you're so moved, and to support us in the future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, very much.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dempsey, Chairman Reinders, Chairman Houston, Chairman Chokus, and Representative Kidd for a morning order.
I'm gonna give him just a second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege to come before you this morning and honor two great organizations, and some of the people who work so hard and tirelessly in that effort are upstairs. So in just a moment, I'll ask you to join me in recognizing them. Easter Seals and the Champions for Children initiative. Thousands of Americans are impacted by birth defects and disabilities. Every year, those babies are born, and they grow up and face the huge challenges that many of us take for granted every day. Easter Seals, a nonprofit with locations across our state, offers services to individuals and families with birth defects and disabilities to enhance their care and quality of life through improved physical mobility, employment opportunities, and greater independence for everyday living. Easter Seals Georgia began its Champions for Children program as a result of a desire to help Georgia's working families who have children with special needs in 2007. And they have worked very, very hard and are a great example of that everyday, tireless work that makes a life different. And that is what we are so grateful for as we stand here today. It is my privilege, and those who are with me here today, to stand and to honor and recognize Easter Seals, your staff, your volunteers, and the Champions for Children initiative for the past, present, and future work that we know you will do. Please stand now and let us thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Following are invitation resolutions and are referred to the Committee on Rules. Resolution honoring the life and memory of the late Calvin Hill, expressing regret at his passing and inviting the family to appear before the House of Representatives. Recognizing Andrew College on its 160th anniversary, inviting the people of Andrew College to be represented by the House of Representatives. Resolution honoring the life and memory of the late William Quincy Murphy, expressing regret at his passing and inviting his family to appear before the House of Representatives.
Is there objection to the adoption of the invite, or the invite resolutions? Chair hears none. The resolutions are adopted. Clerk will read the caption to a privileged resolution.
A resolution honoring the victims in the Atlanta missing and murdered children case and for other purposes.
Is there objection to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. We have some announcements. Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Insurance Committee, Chairman Smith, for an announcement.
The insurance public hearing that was going to be held this afternoon at 2 o'clock has been canceled.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall for an announcement. Representative Stovall.
Good morning. I wanted to invite everyone. The Georgia Federation of Democratic Women is having a press conference at 11:30 on the Washington Street side in support of Medicaid expansion. Thank you.
Okay, we have a member celebrating a birthday today. I hope you will join with me in wishing happy birthday greetings to Representative Pam Dickerson. Representative Dickerson. Okay, page photographs will be taken at the podium immediately upon adjournment. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader of the House for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move this House now adjourn until 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, January 15th, 2014.
The Majority Leader has moved that this House adjourn until Wednesday, January the 15th at 10 o'clock a.m. All those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House will be adjourned until Wednesday at 10 o'clock a.m.